Hey guys, I'm making this video today for y'all to show y'all how to do open forms and then how to do more complicated shapes like pentagons, hexagons, and octagons. So far we've done a lot of like rectangles, squares, triangles, but we're really gonna get into that whole aspect of perspective. So first off, I'm gonna start off by showing y'all open forms. So like the regular perspective that we've been doing the last few days or week, we're just going to start off with a horizon line. You want to put your vanishing point on the line. So first off, I'm going to show you how to do an open form. Let me do a bird's eye view open form. Let's say we want to do an open sort of a square. So I'm going to go ahead and draw out my square. Just eyeing that. Alright, so you see here that I have a square. To make it an open form, we have to draw a smaller shape inside of our current shape. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a square inside of this. Another square, but we're going to make this one smaller. So keep in mind you want to try to make this line parallel with this line. And we want to do that for all the sides. We want to just maintain that parallelness, I'm not sure if that's a word, but parallelness to our shape. So it'll just make things look so much better. So now you see a square inside of a square. Alright, so like our regular perspective stuff, I'm gonna start off with just connecting my corners to my vanishing point. And as you can see right here, I have some markers and they're gonna come into play a little bit later as to why I have them. I'm just gonna use them as highlighters. All you really need is a ruler, a pencil, and an eraser. So let me go ahead and connect all my possible corners. Line that up. This corner, I'm gonna bring it to the vanishing point. And I want you to draw these things lightly because you're gonna have to erase them later on. And then I'm gonna do my third corner. And like your traditional perspective, if I try to connect this fourth corner down here, this face is blocking it. So this is where this stuff comes into play. So I'm gonna go ahead and take one of my markers. You'll notice that I have a side right here and a side right here. So that means the corners that I've connected were this one, and this one. So why that's important? So when we're doing open forms, all the corners that I connect on the outside, it's gonna work the opposite on the inside. So this corner goes to this corner, and same thing. Now, did I connect the corner right here? No. So that means I will be able to connect this inside corner. Let me go ahead and take my pencil again, line it up, and I want to bring it to the dot. But I can actually stop right here because all this is blocking the inside of this. So you'll get something like that. And that's why I talked about opposites. So these corners join together. Because we couldn't connect the one out here, we get to connect the one inside. So let's go ahead and move on to our parallels. So remember, you want to make your parallel lines. I like to line my ruler up against the side of my shape, drag it out a little bit, and so let's say I just want to drag it out right here. So now we have this new point right here. We're going to do the same thing at the top. Line it up, drag it out until we get to that point, and draw our parallel lines. Alright, so this is where things can get slightly tricky. You'll notice that you have a set of parallel lines right here. I'm going to use my blue marker for this time, blue marker this time. You have a set of parallel lines up here, but you don't have one up here. What? Not up here. You don't have one to the side, and you don't have one at the bottom. So like this, opposites, since you have parallel up here, you don't need to do it in here. Same thing right here. You don't need to have an interior parallel. So because we have an X here and an X here, that means we're going to be doing our parallels inside. So let's line it up, and this time I'm going to drag it inwards. And something that I want to just kind of show y'all, let me just take my orange marker. So we have to keep in mind the distance between your walls. See the distance that we're seeing between these walls right here? We want to kind of maintain that same width but inside the walls. So it's going to be wrong, say if you just drew like one right here. That would be wrong. And let me do my bottom. Since we have an X down here, that means we give a check mark on the inside. Line it up, and voila. You're gonna get something like that. This is an open form. And then I'm gonna take my eraser and erase everything that I don't need. And when you're doing this, you will not need the markers. I was just using the markers to kind of explain or get my point across. And here's an example of an open form. Now let's go ahead and do an open form at the top. But this time I'm going to do a triangle. Draw my shape. And then inside, I'm going to draw a smaller triangle. Alright, we have a triangle inside of a triangle. So let's go ahead and start off with the outside corners. Let's go ahead and connect all the possible corners that we can on the outside to the vanishing point. And these lines are your converging lines. Alright, you'll notice this time I was able to connect all the corners. So there's a check mark here, there's a check mark here, and there's a check mark here. All the corners on the outside have been connected. So when that happens, that means there's no inside ones that need to be connected. This inside will remain as is. Let's go ahead and do my parallel lines. Let me line it up. Let's say I want to drag it out right here. Now we have to line this side of the triangle up too. Drag it out until it meets the newly created corner. Alright, so does that look right? Kinda, sorta, but we are missing something. So remember what I said about opposites, inside versus outside? The parallels count like that too. So there's a parallel right here, and there's a parallel down here. But is there a parallel on this side? There is not. So since there's no parallel here, we have to make it on the inside. So all I'm gonna do is take my ruler, line it up, and I'm only gonna drag it out to about what the side is. So that's about the distance that we're getting. So I stop right there because you want to keep in mind, let me take a different color marker, that this distance right here needs to match about this distance right here. Because if you make this too long, that shape won't make any sense, or that form won't make any sense. And the last one I'm going to show you is an open form on top of, on the line. So a line of sight open form. Let's say I'm going to make a rectangle on this line. Erase my horizon line on top of that, and let's go ahead and start connecting. So remember, always do outside shape first, so those corners on the outside. And then these corners will not meet up because they're going to be blocked by the shape itself. So it's just out here. So being that we can't do these two corners on the outside, that means we're going to do those corners on the inside. And you're going to get something just like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and do our parallel. I'm going to line this up. I'm going to drag it out to about right there. So this side has a parallel, and I can't do one up here. I can't do one on this side outside, and I can't do one at the bottom. So since we can't do it on these three sides, that means we have to do it on the inside. So let me go ahead and start off with this one. Line it up, drag it up, and that's about it. And then same thing right here. Line it up, bring it down to that corner. I'm gonna draw my line. And same thing down here. It's gonna be very slim, but it is there. It's almost non-visible. Alright. You're gonna get something like that. And all you have to do now is erase those extra lines that you don't need. Okay, and those are open forms. Now I'm going to show you a couple common things that students kind of have questions on when they're working on this. So here's the first one. So say if you make your shape kind of long. So let me go ahead and draw my square. Say if you want to make a long open form. Here's my square. I'm going to draw my square inside of my square. Excuse me if I'm turning the paper and it's sort of making it trippy for you, but this is usually how I work. Alright, so we have our square and our square inside of our square. Let me go ahead and connect my outside corners, all the possible ones. Okay, so these three corners were possible. That means on the inside, I'm gonna do this corner. Alright, and you'll get something like that. Okay, so here's a common thing that people kind of just, they don't understand when they're making forms that are open. Okay, so say if you make your outside parallels, like you make your sides, your outside, like really far back. Let's say right here. See how far this is? And then we line this up here as well, and then we drag it up. And we do the same thing up here. They're confused on the inside. Where do I make my parallel line on the inside? So if you see this line actually keeps going. Let's make that imaginary line. And then it'll be about that distance on the inside. But you'll notice that this right here, this side, these side pieces are actually blocking it. So sometimes if you leave it like that, that is perfectly fine. So you're not doing it wrong if you leave it like that. Okay, this counts as an open form as well. Alright, another thing I want to show y'all is a common mistake. You're just not following the whole kind of opposites, inside versus outside rule if you're making this mistake. So let me go ahead and draw a rectangle up here. This is a common mistake. So let's go ahead and connect all of our possible corners. One right here, one right here, and one right here. Alright. And then since these corners matched up on the outside and this one did not, we're going to connect this corner on the inside. Alright, here's a common mistake that we get. Let me line this up. Let me make my outside parallel. My outside parallels first. So remember how we talked about you having a set of parallels on the outside? That means you need to do the same on the inside right here. Sometimes I've seen students make this mistake. They tend to do something like this, and that just doesn't make any sense. I'm just completely lost. So please follow that inside outside opposites rule. So whatever you do on the outside, you don't do on the inside. Whatever you can't do on the outside, that means you do on the inside. So since we didn't have, let me get a different marker. So since we didn't have a parallel outside on this way, that means we will have one up here. And that's normal. And I'm not using my ruler right now, so please excuse me. And since we didn't have one right here, that means we'll have one on this side. So you'll get something like that. It just depends what you did and what you didn't do inside versus outside. Or let me backtrack. Outside versus inside. And those are open forms. Let me get a new paper, and now I'm gonna show y'all how to do more complex shapes. So I'm not gonna ruler this, I just want to kind of breeze through it. Alright, so most of us know pentagons to look like that. Most of us know hexagons to look like that. And when you're doing this, please use a ruler. I'm just trying to make it fast. And octagons are like that. So I'm letting y'all do sort of, I call them irregular shapes, which that is a thing. But pentagons only have 5 sides, hexagons have 6, octagons have 8. So what is an irregular shape? So these are the regular versions of these shapes. Irregular shapes are shapes that are uneven, and they don't kind of fit the mold of what these are, but they are pentagons. So let me show you an example of an irregular pentagon. Let me divide this. So below I'm going to draw an irregular pentagon. So all it needs to have is 5 sides. That's 1 side, 2 sides, 3 sides, 4 sides, 5. That is an irregular pentagon. What about something like this? That is an irregular pentagon, as long as they have 5 sides. So hexagons, same thing as the pentagon version. We need 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, that's 6 sides. Let's try a different one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These two count as irregular hexagons. Then an irregular octagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is an irregular octagon. And there's just so many ways to approach this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, reason why I'm allowing y'all to do irregulars is just they're so much easier to make. Think of it like Tetris. You're like making Tetris pieces, especially with the octagons. Alright, so let's get to that whole perspective thing with these shapes. So same steps, we're gonna draw our horizon line. We're gonna make our vanishing point. Alright, so first off, I'm gonna start off with an irregular pentagon. But remember what I said, use your ruler. This time I'm actually gonna use my ruler. That's 2 sides, 3 sides, 4 sides, 5 sides. That is my irregular pentagon. Alright. Now all I have to do is connect all my possible corners. So let's test them all out. Does this one work? Yes. Will this one work? Yes. What about right here? That works. Let's test this final one. Alright, what about this one? This one will not work because it's being blocked by the face of this shape. So now we can work on our parallels. Line it up, drag it out as far as I want. Let's say I want it right here. That's one parallel line. Let's line it up right here, drag it out. That counts as my parallel line. And line it up and drag it out. And that right there is a pentagon turned into a form. Next I'm going to show you a hexagon. So hexagon, hexagon, hexagon. What hexagon do I want to do? I'm going to do my hexagon on my line of sight. One side, 2 sides, 3 sides, 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So technically once you master that pentagon, the other two will be a breeze. So let's line up my possible corners. This is one that connects. This connects. This is a corner as well. So you notice this one dips in. That also counts as a corner. And let's check this top piece. And yes, that connects. So the only one that didn't connect was this corner right here, because it's being blocked by the face of the shape. So let's go ahead and start my parallels. Line it up. See how I'm lining it up? Make sure you do that. Drag it out as far as you want. It's up to you, and you're going to draw your parallel line. Same thing right here. Line it up. You're going to drag it out to your parallel line. And I'm just going to keep doing that. This takes patience. This takes time. Craft is very important with this. If you don't perfect those parallel lines, all your forms are not going to look right. And you'll get something like that. And you can erase all your excess lines. Alright. And you'll have something like that. The last one I want to show you is the octagon. So let's make an irregular octagon. And let me check to see if this is an octagon. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is an octagon. It has 8 sides. So I made this one because it's a little bit more complex, and I just want to show y'all something with a shape like this. Alright, so let's go ahead and connect all our possible corners. I'm going to put my pencil on the dot and line it up to one corner. Will this corner work? Yes. Will this corner work? Yes, it will. What about this inside one, the one that dips in? That works. Will this one work right here? Let's test it out. Nope. It will not work. This corner right here is being blocked by this face. What about this corner? That one will work. This one will work. What about this one? Yes, this one will work as well. The last corner I need to check is this back one, and that will not work. So let's go ahead and line it up, and let's go ahead and do our parallels. So let's say I want it all the way out here. This line and this line are parallel. Line it up, pull it out until I see my corner. There we go. Okay, line it up right here. Pull it out until I see my corner. Right here. Alright, so reason why I wanted to show you a shape like this is because this corner that we just made right here. This corner is actually invisible. Because if we take this corner right here, well it's not invisible, but it's just not visible at the moment. Let's pretend that this line is actually there. This corner should actually continue going over here, but we really can't see it because it's being hidden by the sides and the face of your form. So my solution to that is stopping it once it hits that, but then you have to remeasure this parallel, and you want this parallel right here, the distance between this parallel, to match up with the distance for that parallel. So let me get my marker to show you real quick. You want these distances to match up. So right here, you're gonna want a similar distance. Let me line it up. Let me drag it out. It's about right there. And then we can do that final corner. And there you go. And that's your octagon. Alright, so I'm not going to show you open forms with this just because I'm not really asking you to make open forms with this, but if you want to test it out and challenge it, feel free to do so. And then if you want to just ask me in class, I can also show you in person if you really are up for that type of challenge. So the things we kind of went over today was sort of making open forms and how to understand which lines to connect to which corners, which spots to make parallels. So if you need to rewatch this video, just keep rewatching until you get it. I know this video is much longer than any of the other videos I made, but you know, I'm hoping that this helps you. And then doing pentagons, hexagons, and octagons, and these are irregular, so they don't need to be irregular shaped pentagons, hexagons, and octagons. You know, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the chat whenever we're doing our virtual meets, or if you're in class with me, just ask me. But yeah, that is all for this video, and I hope this helps.